You ever notice how the quiet ones always scare them the most? It's not the rage they fear, it's the calm. It's the way you look through them, without blinking, without breaking, like you already know how the story ends. And spoiler alert, it doesn't end well for them. See, they want you emotional, reactive, software. They want you explaining yourself, chasing closure, begging to be understood. Because the moment you stop caring, the moment you freeze that fire, you become something they can't control anymore. You become dangerous. They called it heartless. They called it cold. Good. Let them. Because cold is a superpower. They'll never admit it, but they need your emotions. You were never just a person to them. You were supply, fuel, a mirror they could twist to reflect their control. When you cried, it confirmed they mattered. When you got angry, it meant they still had power. When you explained yourself over and over again, they saw it as victory. You were dancing on strings while they held the puppet's cross, smiling as they broke you, piece by piece. But the moment you go cold, the moment you stop explaining, reacting, defending, caring, you become a void they can't fill. That void, that's where their control dies. That's where you are born. The most dangerous transformation isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It's slow. It happens when you realize you don't owe anyone your vulnerability. You don't owe anyone your reactions. You don't owe anyone the luxury of your emotional energy. You pull back. You retreat. You stop feeding what no longer feeds you. And like a starving parasite, they begin to rot in their own irrelevance. Cold isn't a mood swing. It's a declaration. It's the announcement that your spirit has gone into survival mode. That your peace is now locked behind ice-cold walls, and not just anyone gets a key. They used to make you feel guilty for your emotions. Too sensitive, too intense, too much. But the second you go quiet, you've changed. You're cold. You're distant. Funny how that works. When you were breaking yourself just to keep others warm, they applauded your sacrifice. But the second you wrapped yourself in your own arms, they call it selfish. That's how you know you're on the right path. You're not cold because you're bitter. You're cold because you finally see things clearly. Cold is not emptiness. Cold is concentration. You're not distracted by nonsense anymore. You don't chase validation from people who wouldn't bleed for you. You don't seek comfort from those who once used your vulnerability as ammunition. Now you sit in silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because it's not worth saying to them. You conserve your power. You measure your steps. You calculate your energy. That's not being numb. That's being dangerous. You can walk into a room now and feel nothing, not because you're hollow, but because you no longer waste your spirit trying to light dead fires. You recognize the signs, the tone in someone's voice, the way their eyes search for weakness, the way their words try to guilt you back into servitude. And you don't flinch. You just observe and move in silence. That's the art of being cold. No arguments, no breakdowns, just strategic detachment. They don't know what to do with you now. You used to explain yourself. You used to fight for their understanding. You used to lose sleep, wondering what you did wrong. But now, you sleep like royalty while they obsess over your indifference. You've become the unsolvable equation in their mind. They replay every word, every look, every moment, wondering when they lost access to you. The answer? The second they treated you like you were disposable. And now, to them, you're unavailable. You're not heartless. You're just done leaking your soul into hands that only wanted to control it. You're not cold because you gave up. You're cold because you gave everything. And when they proved they weren't worthy, you turned the switch off. They thought they'd always have access to you, that you'd always come back. But your silence is permanent now. Your love used to be a fountain. Now it's a vault. Cold, locked, final. They don't fear you when you cry. They don't fear you when you beg. They don't fear you when you try to make peace. But they fear you when you become still, when you stop responding, when your eyes go blank and your voice goes low. That's the moment they realize they don't exist in your world anymore. That's the moment they know you've become the thing they never expected. Unreachable. They called you dramatic when you cared. But now that you don't, they call you evil. They try to paint you as the villain in their story because they can't stand that you stopped letting them be the villain in yours. Cold doesn't mean you're cruel. It means you finally refuse to suffer for other people's chaos. It means your self-respect now outweighs your emotional need to be understood. The truth is, detachment isn't about giving up. It's about rising up. It's realizing that connection without respect is slavery. That love without boundaries is a trap. That empathy without wisdom is self-destruction. When you go cold, it's not the death of your heart. It's the rebirth of your standards. You don't give the same energy to those who drained you. You don't offer access to people who failed you. You stop begging. You stop explaining. You stop hoping. And you start ascending. Detachment doesn't make you heartless. It makes you selective. It's the most powerful weapon in a world that thrives on attention. Because once you master detachment, they lose their power. You don't react when they poke you. You don't shatter when they ghost you. You don't chase when they pull away. You simply observe and move accordingly. And nothing terrifies them more than a soul they can no longer manipulate. You see, when you go cold, you don't just hurt their ego, you erase it. You don't punish them with words, you punish them with absence. You don't throw stones, you vanish. And they sit in the silence you left behind, echoing with every missed chance, every lie they told, every time they thought you'd never leave. But the thing about cold is, once you freeze, you don't thaw for the same fire twice. They'll try to come back. Of course they will. That's what they do when they feel your absence. They'll send messages wrapped in nostalgia, dressed in fake accountability. They'll call your coldness a phase, hoping they can warm you back up. But by then, your heart is armored, your soul is sovereign. You're not interested in revisiting graves, you're building kingdoms. Now you don't react, you redirect. You don't chase, you create. You don't beg, you build. Your energy is sacred, your time is currency, your emotions are an empire, and only the worthy get in. Everyone else, let them feel the cold. Let them sit outside the gates they thought they'd never be locked out of. Because this new version of you doesn't explain, doesn't defend, doesn't bend. It rains. You were once soft clay, shaped by hands that didn't deserve you. Now you're marble, sharp, smooth, unchanging. You don't need to convince anyone you've changed. Your silence will speak for you. Your peace will scream for you. Your glow, unbothered, untouchable, unstoppable, will haunt them. You want to know what real power looks like? It's walking away without a sound. It's watching them try to make noise just to get your attention, and not even blinking. It's the silence they hear at 2 a.m. when they check their phone and realize you're not coming back. No closure, no war, just a clean, cold cut. That's not just power, that's freedom. You didn't just detach from them, you evolved. You stopped explaining your worth and started embodying it. You stopped reacting and started rising. You're not heartless, you're healed. And healing doesn't come with apologies. It comes with boundaries, with gates, with silence so loud it echoes through the bones of every person who thought they could play with you and get away with it. Now they feel your absence like frostbite, slow, sharp, permanent. You were their sun, and they took it for granted. So now, let them freeze. Let them remember how it felt when you were warm. Let them regret every moment they thought your kindness was weakness. Because you didn't just get stronger, You got colder. And in this world, cold is the new invincible. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them spin stories trying to explain why they lost you. But don't you ever melt for those who watched you burn. You've earned this cold. You've bled for it. And now you wear it like armor. So remember this. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You don't need to say a single damn word. Because when you go cold, the silence says it all. Cold is a superpower. And now, it's yours.